in New York, Luigi Mangione, the man accused of murdering United Healthcare CEO, arrived in court this morning. He pleaded not guilty to state charges, including murder as an act of terrorism. He is accused of killing Brian Thompson as he was walking to an investor conference in Midtown Manhattan on the morning of December 4th. The state case is expected to run parallel to his federal case. Mangione was brought to New York from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested after a search lasting several days. The state and federal indictments vary quite a bit in approach, but the biggest difference could be in the potential sentences. The maximum penalty for the state charges is life in prison without parole, but on the federal counts, he could face the death penalty.
I do want to show you some video of Luigi Mangione. This is from this morning. This is the accused shooter of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. He was arraigned this morning in New York State Supreme Court. He pleaded not guilty to 11 charges, including first-degree murder, a terrorism-related offense. His attorney, I should say, saying that authorities are treating him as a, quote, ping pong ball with conflicting theories in multiple jurisdictions. His next state court date is set for February 21st. Remember, he has these parallel charges, federal and state, for murder.
How do you plead to this indictment, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Can you take this? Can you take one picture too? Okay. No worries.
We have some massive breaking news this morning in regards to Luigi Mangione, as he just pled not guilty to all state charges. I mean, this is huge. He was escorted yet again into state court this morning with his hands and feet shackled, wearing a maroon sweater over a white collared shirt and khaki pants. And this marks the first time that Luigi was able to formally address the accusations that were being brought against him. And he did so in a big way, pleading not guilty to all 11 counts brought against him in New York, including the first-degree murder charge, 2 second-degree murder charges, and other weapon and forgery charges. State prosecutors argue that Luigi was found in possession of what is believed to be the murder weapon, and surveillance videos show a man matching his description before and after the attack, including outside the Hilton, where Thompson was unalive. Outside of the courtroom, along with the press, was a crowd of members of the public, mainly young women, saying they were there to support Luigi. Now remember, he could face the death penalty if he is found guilty of the federal murder charges, while the state charges carry a maximum of life in prison, and the prosecutors haven't announced yet if they will seek the death penalty. Let me know what you guys think about this, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
Just a quick news update today. Luigi Mangione actually had his second court appearance up in New York. He's currently facing an 11-count indictment, including 3 murder charges and active terrorism charge, which is, whatever. I think they're just packing stuff on. The maximum life sentence in New York for this one is life without possibility of parole. Apparently, the federal government also have put something in as well, and that one would actually carry the death penalty, but they haven't asked them to actually put in a response to that one yet. Now, what's the big news? Luigi Mangione actually has pled not guilty. He walked in that courtroom, head held up high like he's been doing, and looked them straight in the eye and said, I didn't do it, absolutely not guilty. So it'll be interesting to see how this actually moves forward, but there's your Luigi update here, so stay tuned.
Let's talk about the latest with the Luigi Mangione case. So he pled not guilty today in state court to a first-degree murder charge in furtherance of terrorism. This is a huge charge, very severe, very hard to prove, and very rarely ever used. And the most interesting part of that plea was not that he pled not guilty, but was during his plea when his attorney argued that she does not believe he can get a fair trial. The reasoning, the media, the attention, And I mean, if you just look at it, how are we going to find a juror who doesn't know about this case or the word terrorism? There's a certain amount of attachment to that word terrorism, and it's nearly impossible to find an unbiased jury when you bring this charge. So how many people do you think can set aside their feelings when you hear the word terrorism? So an argument like this could lead to a couple big moves. You could move the trial to another location where it's less publicized, and they might also challenge the evidence and especially how it's gathered. So can you use national surveillance security tools, and can that evidence be allowed into court? She's going to start arguing against evidence immediately. So this not guilty plea does not mean per se that he's not saying he didn't do it. All it does is it makes them prove their case. So they now have to prove that Mangione committed this high level of terrorism. And this is an extremely high standard to meet. And so just by pleading not guilty, he's not saying, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything. He's saying it's the prosecution's job to prove this now. And then the last thing we have to remember here procedurally is that this is only the state charges. So he can be found totally not guilty. They didn't dismiss these state claims, and he still has those federal charges looming over his head. So those all have to be considered as these next steps are taken procedurally and what comes next. This is a long, long road ahead with a lot of steps to unpack ahead.
All right, everyone, I just got back from Luigi Mangione's arraignment by the state, and I have so much to tell you. Number one, if anyone's been following me and they recently see me post that video about Hulu, ABC 2020, posting that documentary or whatever the fuck it was, feature film length about Luigi and the whole entire situation and how this is like defamation. Well, even though his attorney did not bring that up, she did bring up that the whole perp walk is infringing on his constitutional right to have a fair trial. And not only did she say that, but she said, we are putting all of you on notice. Those were literally her words. You are all put on notice, bitch. Okay, that was mine. Another thing that I found very interesting is that the judge seems very impartial, and he also seems a bit annoyed why the state and the feds are not working together on this case. Like, it seems separate to him. And he basically said in so many words, like, y'all need to figure it the fuck out and come together on something, or there's going to be an issue. Now, what I thought was interesting about that is the prosecution seemed very, like, taken back that they need to work together with the feds. Like, they're like, we have our own thing, they have their own thing, and the judge is like, no, bitch, y'all need to put that together, consolidate it, we don't got time. And he was like, we'll do our best to converse. AKA, it sounds like they're not conversing at all. Karen made it very obvious to point out Eric motherfucking Adams, stating that he of all people should know that you deserve the right to a fair trial. Because as I repeat, and I'll say it from the rooftops over and over again, he is still being indicted by the feds. He is still being investigated. Eric Adams, the mayor. So Karen believes that he is doing this, like I stated in my previous videos, for politics, for optics, to detract and distract the attention away from him and onto Luigi. Karen has stated that she would like to see the evidence that they have compiled, because the prosecution keeps stating that they have so much quantity of evidence, but then also stated in the same breath, not of quality. AKA, it sounds like they ain't got shit. And Karen is like, let me see it. And they was like, literally that's how he was sounding. And I love what Karen said. She was like, I don't understand why they're treating my clients like this. I don't understand the perp walk. I didn't understand why you needed that many personnel behind him and around him. She's like, my client has been nothing but cooperative and polite. And this doesn't make any sense except for the fact that you're trying to make this a political thing. Like, you're making a fodder out of my client. And I don't appreciate that. And did I mention, she said, I put y'all on notice. You on notice, bitch. Also, Karen and her husband is representing Luigi. Both of them, co-counsel, baby. And it seems like Luigi and his attorney has a great rapport because they were basically wearing matching outfits.
Luigi Mangione just went to court and he actually pled not guilty. What do you think this means?
Good morning, breaking news. Luigi Mangione pled not guilty this morning in New York to state charges. Luigi didn't say anything in court except for when the judge asked him how he pled, he said not guilty. His attorney, on the other hand, She was pissed, rightfully so, at the way that he's been treated by the courts and the city of New York in general. She said that when the mayor was answering as to why he was there for the perp walk that was clearly planned and she believes political, she was angry at the fact that he never used the word allegedly when describing the crimes that Luigi is being accused of. She also said that she plans to fight all of the charges, whether in state court or federal court, to the fullest. I think the next time that he appears in court is January 19th, I believe. I'm not positive, but I believe so. He looks pretty confident walking into court this morning, and he almost had like a Menendez brothers look to his outfit. Look at this.
Luigi, do you have anything to say? Luigi, want to say something?
I'll let you guys know as soon as I know more.
Okay, y'all, so breaking news, and Luigi Mangione has pleaded not guilty to the charge of terrorism. Now, he appeared to court today. This is him today, in shackles and all these people, these guards, which I feel like is completely unnecessary. And he pled his, plea for the charge of terrorism. And that charge is a federal charge, which means that he could be possibly facing the DP. It's just so crazy to me how all these people have to be there for one person. But with the Idaho 4 unaliver Brian Koberger, it was literally just one dude that arrested him. But all these people have to be there for one person. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is another picture of him today in court, looking handsome as ever. Let me just say that. But yeah, not guilty. Honestly, I feel like, how is it considered to be terrorism when just because it's a CEO? But if it was any other person, a normal pedestrian, someone like me and you, it wouldn't be considered that. That's privilege, and that's disgusting. That's exactly why this happened.
This morning, Luigi Mangione pled not guilty to New York State murder charges. And he pled not guilty to 11 state charges, including first-degree murder, second-degree murder as crime of terrorism, and multiple weapons charges. Mangione faces the possibility of life in prison without parole if convicted for murdering Thompson last month. And this was his second time entering not guilty pleas. He appeared in federal court last week to face charges that could result in him getting the death penalty if convicted. And when it comes to which trial would be taking place first, the feds say that the state's trial would take precedence. And the Manhattan District Attorney did confirm to CNN that it's coordinating with federal authorities for Mangione's arraignment of the state charges. Prosecutors said that they would do everything possible to expedite the discovery process, sharing the information with the defense. And prosecutor Joel Siedemann said, "I have never seen a case with such a volume of evidence aside from the issue of the quality of the evidence. This is not a usual case in terms of the thousands of hours of video." Luigi's attorney, Karen Friedman Agnafilio, expressed her concern this morning that her client would not receive a fair trial.
Treating him like he is like some sort of political fodder, like some sort of spectacle.
And members of the public, including 24 women and 6 men, filled 4 rows of the courtroom to watch the hearing unfold. And outside, there was also a crowd of protesters. And several of the protesters had made signs in support of Luigi.
Good morning, you guys. Hope you guys are having a great morning. Well, Luigi Saga is back. Well, I just never reported on the other stuff because I didn't think it was necessary. Well, here we are on part, let's just say 100. And Luigi pleads not guilty. And damn well he should plead not guilty to the terrorism charge. And good for him. And I'm glad that his lawyer stepped up and said something because it's not fair. And, like the person said, who is going to find a jury that never heard about Luigi Mangione because it's in New York? So I know every New Yorker heard about this dude, and a lot of people in New York are celebrating. So I know that it's going to be very, very hard, and people are cheering. They want him out. Hell, I don't even want him out. But not him out to just keep killing CEOs, But I I guess his message got very far, and hoping they don't be denying people's claims, but they need to let him free. This is ridiculous. And like I said, they're treating this like a clown show, you guys. Come on. Nothing moves this fast. People are still waiting years, decades for their murder trial to begin, their loved one's murder trial to begin. And I guess because this man, he is so beloved and everybody just loves this man, they're speeding up his trial. Like I said, I think they're really trying to make an example of this man so the 1% won't be like, oh, I'm scared, right? So you guys, we're just gonna have to wait for the trial and see what's going on. And what I find interesting is, like the man pointed out, was that the wife, Carrie, brought her husband Mark on, and he is the lawyer for Diddy. That's very interesting. Now he got two lawyers on his side for the price of one. I think that's a pretty good deal. But we're just going to wait and see and how this goes and see if Luigi Mangione can fight these charges. But all I can see, I just want the terrorism one to be dropped. Basically, because they can't prove anything on the terrorism charge. It's really like they're doing this for the 1%. Man, I never seen. I love to do. I love to do true crime. I'm really into true crime, and I have never seen a murderer with so many people around him. The mayor was even walking him from the helicopter, you guys. The mayor. Mayors don't even bother doing that with a murderer. But isn't he a murderer? I'm confused. Or does Mayor Eric Adams want some of his shine? Because you can sure see him. But hell, what do I know? I'm just a talking head. Have a great day, YouTube.